All right, welcome to Porch Talk, episode 3. My name is Samuel Dank, and we are coming to you live to tape from Nebraska, 1866. I'm here with my co-host,
Jared Hall, and we are actually on a porch this time.
Yeah, first time.
First time on tape.
Recording.
On a porch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The inspiration was actually
from this porch.
Yeah, because we sit on my porch and do what you've listened to for the last 2 episodes. If you took the time to listen to them. If this is your first time, be forewarned. We don't censor. We don't, we say whatever we think and we feel. I am a PC liberal. No, I'm just joking. I may come off like that.
That's her wife.
Oh, that's my wife. My wife is the PC liberal.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. She'll listen to it. Nah, she won't listen to it.
Yeah, sorry, wife.
She don't listen to the show.
Yeah, neither's mine.
I think
That's
she tried.
Yeah. So you're a PC liberal, and I don't know what I am.
You're an asshole libertarian.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that what you are? That small L.
Small L.
Small L.
Small L asshole libertarian.
And I'm a small L liberal.
Okay. I like it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah. I don't really, but whatever.
Sorry, I got a bit of a cough tonight. Actually,
Yeah.
I always have a cough. Oh,
That's the emphysema.
Let me get. Oh yeah, that's my.
Yeah,
that's
we
the
should.
emphysema.
We should.
I'm getting there.
We should sue tobacco companies.
Definitely. I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, WTO. Sorry. Sorry, that might have gone over your head.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, the WTO?
Yeah, I missed that. World Trade Organization?
Yeah, they have trade laws that tell you that you can't sue companies or put restrictions on companies if it's going to hinder their business. In fact, I think it's Philip Morris right now who is suing Australia, maybe, I think it is. Because their packaging for their cigarettes are really like, you're going to die.
It says it'll kill you.
Yeah, and
I've seen those that packaging.
they're
where
neat.
where
I like
it's-
them, sure, whatever.
I don't give a shit.
Fuck, people are gonna smoke regardless. If they want to smoke, they're gonna smoke. I don't necessarily see why they get to sue them. But again, WTO. Thank you, Mr. Clinton.
Interesting. Oh. That's an interesting point because what's on, I'm just here. It says Surgeon General's warning: cigarette smoke contains carbon monoxide. That's what mine says.
There's
Do they get
another
a
one
choice?
over here.
There's one about smoking when you're pregnant.
Yeah, this one over here says that smoking by pregnant women may result in fetal injury, premature birth, and no birth weight.
And does it say according to the state of California?
No, that's just the Surgeon General's warning.
Because some of them say according to the state of California, which I thought was
Oh,
sort of
really?
strange. Yeah.
Well, California's got their own little things.
They're much more
Yeah.
stringent. Didn't they just pass the age 21 to buy cigarettes?
Yeah, it'd be 21 there to buy cigarettes.
Yeah.
And they're in Hawaii. It's the same way. And
Hawaii
there's
does
some
it too?
cities that are the same way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But here's a little caveat to that. Who was the guy that was choked in New York City?
Oh, not Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray?
I don't remember his name.
No. Oh, we were both two white dudes, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah. But anyways.
Shit. He was selling Lucy's, right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
you're kind of creating the black market again when you put that restriction on there.
Was that like a really,
I think
really
New York City
subtle
also is 21. I
joke?
think maybe. No,
The
it was.
black market?
No, it wasn't it was unintended.
Oh, so the liberal got the black market joke. Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely an unintended little joke there, but.
So it's these regulations. Well, isn't that the overall lesson from Prohibition, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And the war on drugs.
yeah, clearly. as you can
Prohibition
smell
number 12.
coming up from downstairs.
Yes. I think I might have received a contact high by walking up the stairs.
They're pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive that you can walk by and smell it.
Yeah.
Like, I love it when I come up to your door and I walk inside and I'm like, okay, I'm no longer stoned.
Yeah.
It's like right here. I mean, even right now, I can still smell it. Not that I have a problem with people, smoking weed.
I don't care at all.
I don't care one way or the other.
I like that I smell it out here, not in my apartment. They blow it out the window, so I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
I talked to them, and they were like,
You
"Yeah,
have a
sure,
ventilation system.
we'll just blow it out the window." I'm like, "Sure, smoke all you want. I don't care."
So how do you do that? Like you've just relegated them to like only one room. You only smoke weed in your living room or wherever the window is.
They have multiple windows.
Oh, okay.
They have windows in every room.
Oh, okay. Nice. I guess looking at.
I just asked them as a neighbor, as a friend.
Yeah.
And then I also said,
police.
well, I also said,
That's me.
you can
I do
always
that.
repay me by sharing it.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
They didn't seem too keen to that. But weed's
That's
expensive.
Funny. It is expensive, but it's funny that considering that they know that they smoke, you might be friendly to your neighbors, considering our state laws and all.
Oh yeah, well I don't give a shit.
No.
They know I'm not that kind of a person. I would never.
I'm that person.
You're that person.
I'm the person where, like, if you're in my neighborhood...
Just so you know, like the big government guy, the guy that wants more regulations over here, yours truly, he's the guy that won't fucking call the cops on anybody.
No, but
because
here's the thing.
And Jared, the libertarian, has called the cops so many fucking times it's unbelievable. Okay. That's not true. You know what? I have called the police more than once in my neighborhood.
I call the
for
cops.
domestic disputes.
I've been bit by a dog, by my neighbor's dog.
Yeah.
I called
your
called
reasons for calling
and that.
And those tweakers, Caddy
Yes,
cornered
and
you.
I'm pretty sure
Need
that
the cops
they
called.
are selling hardcore drugs, if not just straight up meth. Because there's foot traffic in between my house and the church, and then through the alley to their backyard all the time.
All the time.
At all hours of the
and weird people
night.
just parking and sitting there.
Yeah, they'll park on my street. They'll sit there with their car running. I'll be out there, and next thing you know, here comes somebody walking from their house through the church in my yard, and in the car, and then they do a U-turn and they drive off.
Yeah.
They're there for 5-10 minutes, and then that's it.
Sex doesn't even take that long.
Yeah, I see these people walking across the street to 2 blocks away, carrying bikes and stuff, back and forth all the time.
These people, some wind.
Yeah,
really are on a porch.
yes, we are. But these people are not. They're not good citizens.
Right.
I've called the police because I've had somebody just sitting outside with their car running, and I went to go get the mail like 45 minutes after I noticed them, and they were still there, car running, but they were slumped over.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
I'd call the police too.
Let's see what happens.
I'd call an ambulance.
Turns out he stole the car and had all sorts of crap with him.
I love that. That's funnier now.
And then like 2 days.
And he had a warrant out and everything.
Yeah,
he was
yeah. And then 2 days later, I get home from work, somebody drops me off, and there's another car just sitting running.
Oh no.
And it's there for like a really long time. And so I call the police again. Here come 2 cruisers. I live like a block away from a substation.
Right.
So
right. The
10
cop
minutes
shop
later,
is literally around the corner.
Yeah. So 15 minutes later, here comes 2 cops that roll up, and they just get out of the car. They walk over to him, and at that same time, I get a phone call, and it's somebody goes, "Who is this?" I go, "You're calling me? Who's this?" He's like, "This is Officer so and so."
Who is this asshole?
I'm sitting in this white car out there. Pretty sure I tried to wave you down because I'm pretty sure you called the cops on me, but it's me. I'm doing a surveillance sting right now.
You called the cop on a
I
cop.
called the cops on a cop. I'm sorry,
you're not doing it very well.
Yeah, but your car's running. And you're sitting in front of a neighborhood watch sign too.
Right.
So, and it's my neighborhood.
No, you're a good citizen. I'm not. I was just teasing you.
I have a family, and I don't want to sit here and be like mean and all, but again, your dog charges my kid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be pretty pissy and
I told you.
doing
I think
stuff.
you should get a pellet gun and shoot that fucking dog.
A pellet gun? Can I discharge a pellet gun in the city limits?
No, I don't believe you can. No,
Ah.
legally.
Well,
It's only
do
illegal
I-
if you
do
get
I
caught.
Domicile in city limits?
No, you live in Nebraska. The city of Lincoln is a corporation, Jerry.
I do not live in the city of Lincoln. I live in Lincoln City.
Yes.
I live in Lincoln, not the city of Lincoln.
Didn't you just find this out though? We need to clarify this.
Yeah. So so there was a guy in your neighborhood, 2 blocks away.
Oh, the AR-15 guy.
Yeah, some guy walking around with an AR-15 with an attached 8-inch bayonet. He made a bayonet. He attached like a big old knife, so it became a bayonet, which is illegal to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you cannot walk
You
around.
can't
with
affix.
You cannot affix a bayonet, and I get that.
Isn't
Sure,
that? Hold on, real
whatever.
quick. Isn't that whole thing? Was it Rand Paul was grilling the police department because they ordered all these bayonets?
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you gonna use bayonets for?"
You can't use these. Yeah. So
Sorry. Anyways, I just thought that was really funny.
yeah. So
Tax dollars at work.
So you have a guy walking around with an AR-15.
Yeah.
Had like 3 other knives.
And Nebraska's an open carry state, but
he also had, he was carrying concealed weapons. He had like 3 or 4 other knives on him as well that were concealed.
you can conceal a knife. It just has to. It depends on the
length
of the blade.
They were over the length of the blade.
Okay.
2 of them were over the length. 2 of them were okay. He also had 150 rounds and a couple other magazines that he had. But he had also had previous drug convictions that were under the city of Lincoln. That's not okay. You lose your right to carry a firearm here.
Okay.
So on Twitter, I follow one of our paper's crime beat reporters, and I happen to see that she shared like what the statute was, and it's in there, and it's pretty great. I'll actually not prepared at all, but I will read you the thing because it's funny.
That actually made me think about something, and while you're looking it up, I wanted to talk about because we were talking about, everybody points out that the Second Amendment shall not be infringed.
Yeah.
That's actually what the amendment says. Again, it does not grant you the right, the amendment, nor the Constitution to the amendment to the Constitution.
You don't have any rights granted to you.
No rights are granted to you. You have them. They are defended and protected by the Constitution.
At least the ones that are in the Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights, and then you can extrapolate other things based on the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes. So to just, I'm shocked at how many times you need to clarify that, because that shit it pops up all the time. This grants you the right to. No, it does not grant me nothing. I get that because I'm a human being.
People that like
anyway, that just pisses me off. But anyways, so I was talking about
hold on,
infringing on rights, right?
Yeah,
infringing, but we do understand that as if someone is convicted of a crime, their rights do get infringed. You can unreasonable search and seizure, right?
Yeah.
Well, it becomes reasonable search and seizure when there's reason, and you have the judges. If you have a warrant.
If you're a known criminal, is that enough? Is that enough reason?
That's an interesting point. I mean, if you shoplifted,
if you're Al Capone,
if you shoplifted, do you let's not go Al Capone.
If you're Al Capone, you're a known criminal.
Yeah.
Can you just be walking down the street and they're like, well, this guy's a known criminal, so he may be up to no good?
No, that's actually where I was going with this.
Yeah.
Do you have to have actual statutes in place that say you can no longer enjoy the rights protected under the Constitution because you fucked up?
Well, here.
You can't go hang around a school because you raped kids.
Yeah. Well, we do that.
Yes, we curtail that person's right to go where they want because they're a criminal. Because they have been convicted.
Convicted being the operative word.
Yes, convicted. So I got to thinking about these ideas because I see all these memes up on Facebook. Crazy people shouldn't have guns and blah 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 blah. And I thought. That's pre-crime. You cannot curtail someone's rights based on pre-crime. They have to actually be. No, that's a legal term.
Are we referring to like mental illness?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I have diagnosed depression and anxiety. I take Prozac. I said it on the radio. Therefore, someday they're going to take my gun away, which I don't even own. I do have a shit ton of BB guns though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. You started the rabbit.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We rabbit holed that, but read the funny thing that you found out.
So the city.
Yeah.
Here, Lincoln saying, it's for anybody who really cares. It's statute 936-100. It shall be unlawful for any person to possess any firearm within the corporate limits or on any property of the city of Lincoln outside the corporate limits when that person has been convicted of any one of the following offenses within the last 10 years. And there's a whole bunch.
It's a list, and then there's specific offenses
that are all revised statutes listing what they are, yada, yada, yada. Now, you're talking about the Second Amendment earlier, and can't be infringed, right?
Right.
So what I love about this is that I don't care about the Second Amendment, and you know why I don't care about the Second Amendment?
Because Nebraska, 1866, in
No,
our
it's
Constitution.
actually 1875.
Oh, thank you.
The 1866 doesn't have this. This is added in 1875.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So when they had their constitutional convention, they felt that it was strong enough of an issue to sit here and warrant this little thing, saying this is this is the statement of rights in the Constitution that Nebraska currently uses.
Right.
The state of Nebraska uses. All persons are by nature free and independent, and have certain inherent and inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and the right to keep and bear arms for security or defense of self, family, home, and others, and for lawful common defense, hunting, recreational use, and all other lawful purposes. And such rights shall not be denied or infringed by the state or any subdivision thereof.
But if you no longer live in Nebraska and you live in the United States of America, as in the corporation that whose address is Washington, D.C., then they make up the rules.
Yeah, they make up the rules.
And they can infringe your rights because you are no longer a citizen of one of these several states,
Exactly.
nor are you a 14th Amendment citizen. You are
You're federal personnel.
Federal personnel, you're chattel.
You are chattel.
We should probably take a moment. If you are completely fucking confused by what we just said, that's good.
It's very good.
Because if you want an explanation, go to agenda31.org.
Or I can simply tell you to look up Title 5 U.S. Code 552.A.13.
Say it again.
Title 5 U.S. Code 552A.13, which says essentially that if you if you're entitled to retirement benefits funded by the government or deferred benefits, Social Security, you are federal personnel. If you're federal personnel, you're not really a citizen. And here's the funny thing about that.
They can't boil you in oil.
No, they can't. No, they can't. They can't do that. It's a direct quote.
I gotta go get the bell.
Yeah, they can't.
That was a dingworthy quote.
But
hold on,
but the funny thing with that is that you can't leave Social Security.
No.
I mean, you can. I've seen some stuff, some expat stuff where like there's programs that'll pay your way out to do this, and if your companies that you work for are continuing to take out that money, you can get it back.
Really?
From when you expat it out.
Oh, that's that whole thing that was inserted into law before the 14th Amendment was passed.
The day before the 14th Amendment passed, or it was signed or ratified or something, they passed the expatriation bill, which basically says that it's perfectly legal for any United States citizen to essentially renounce their citizenship of the United States and still live within the confines of the United States of America.
Fascinating.
It is. It's weird.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't dived into that one.
Yeah,
I don't care about that one.
No, I don't either.
Because I am all about the Article 4, and that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I finally emailed the guy from Church back. And God,
he was asking you about state citizenship.
Yeah, and we had he loves Chris Ann Hall. And she couldn't answer my very, very simple question.
Chris Ann Hall, hold on real quick.
She's a lawyer from Florida.
She's that libertarian. She's all about. I
don't know what she is.
But I'd lump all you people in libertarian.
Please don't, because I think she's more like hardcore Tea Party.
And
not libertarian at all.
No, I got you. But she's all about nullification, right? The states have the right to nullify.
Nullification.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm to the point now where you can't nullify something because you're no longer just state citizens. State citizens, the states can nullify stuff.
Yeah, but if everybody's federal personnel and they're working...
Sorry, hold on.
Crap.
Or not only that, but you've also got the CIA World Factbook telling you that The states are administrative divisions, and if they're
Right.
administrative divisions, they're not with their own.
No, they're
So-
administrative divisions of a corporation. Here, let's pause. You can actually answer your wife, and I'll go get the dinger.
All right.
Oh, okay, there we go. Sorry.
You sure?
There we
You
go.
good?
Yep, I
Good?
fixed it. Mm-hmm.
Fixed? All
Yep.
right.
We're
All right.
back. There's the dinger.
Yeah, sorry about
All
that. So this guy from church was asking me about Chris Ann Hall. He's like, "Oh, I know you." I'm like, "Yeah, I went to that thing," and
Yeah, I gotta
she couldn't answer like the simple question for me, which was basically, how can a state without defined borders in its constitution affirm its sovereignty? And she looked at me and goes, "Oh, you even a state?" Yeah, no shit. How are we even a state? Because we don't have constitutional boundaries.
Yeah, neither does California.
California doesn't. Those mysteriously disappeared after 100 years.
Yeah, but ours disappeared too.
Yeah, at some point. I can't find it.
Nope.
And nobody wants to tell me
Nope.
about it. I've done public records requests
He's
on
done
this.
FOIAs and everything.
Can't find it. So, we're talking about this and 14th Amendment versus Article 4 stuff, and he's still not getting it. So he emails me back, and I finally, like, a week later, decided to, like, email him. And it's a very, like, convoluted email that I sent him. Because I'm like, I don't know how to explain it to somebody who has no idea without actually sitting down and, like, having hours.
Yeah.
Like, how can I write an email explaining this to somebody? And it basically was like, look at the code. And I sent him, like, the email that I had sent to Social Security asking for how to
How to get out.
how to get out. Saying basically, I want information on the legality of opting out of SSA mandates. I recognize that by having a Social Security number, I was signed a legal contract stating that I am federal government personnel. However, given that I was assigned at birth this number, I believe that my participation in this contract has not been voluntary. Furthermore, I believe that by being a minor at the time of my original employment with both a legal corporation and also the United States federal government, the contract is void. On a third note, having not been informed of this code, I believe it's a direct violation of informed consent. So I asked for how to leave, and they sent it back saying, you cannot withdraw.
Yeah.
Once you've signed up,
Shut up, slave.
once you've applied for it, you can't withdraw.
Yeah.
So I go on and basically trying to tell them that also means like our state representatives are federal personnel. Anybody who's receiving a paycheck, and that's very small minority of people living in the United States, like Amish people or whoever doesn't have to get ascribe to politics at all. Amish and some other religious groups out there.
Well, no, I've actually known people that didn't have Social Security numbers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, Jared. I grew up surrounded by.
Damn Humi.
Yeah, I grew up surrounded by, well, not surrounded, but I grew up in a very sort of strange amalgamation of crunchy conservatives
Yeah.
that were fundamentalist cult members, sort of.
You're
Yeah.
a cult member. I love it.
Yeah,
At least you're alive.
at least I'm alive.
Yeah.
It
So
wasn't that kind of a cult.
Yeah,
but
so-
there's some psychological trauma for sure.
yeah. We can totally dive into that sometime.
We could. That would be fun. Well, finish this point though. I wouldn't mind that.
So
That'd be
I was just
entertaining.
basically saying that I'd like to add that since most states don't have boundaries in the constitutions, which I believe was a deliberate exercise of ridding the problems of creating states within states, because
Right.
that's unconstitutional.
And but you can have a state within a state if the state doesn't exist, if it doesn't have any borders.
Yeah, if you don't have any boundaries, then you don't. Yeah, I can just come in and be like, okay, well, this little area here, since there's no boundaries in your state, I'm going to set up shop here. And I believe that that's what the federal government has done as a repercussion of the 14th Amendment.
Right. And an abuse of the 14th
An
Amendment.
abuse of the 14th Amendment.
We're not against the 14th Amendment
No,
as a
no.
way to protect human beings.
No, not at all. Well, actually, it really only as a way to protect the colored folk. Sorry.
Is that what it?
That's what the 14th Amendment was for.
well, specifically freed slaves.
Yes.
Specifically freed slaves. It actually really probably wouldn't apply now.
Because there are no slaves.
Right. And there's no freed slaves.
Yeah.
So everyone is a, well, but actually maybe it does apply now, because how do you become a a resident? Do you just become a?
I have no idea how to become.
Remember, like idiot Morfeld said, "You're not a resident. You're not a citizen of Nebraska. You're a resident of Nebraska. You're a citizen of the United States of America."
Yes, I would like to call out my local state congressman, state senator, Adam Morfield of District 46 for being a douchebag.
Yeah.
And
He's
not,
a lawyer.
And not a good kind of douchebag. Like the bad douchebag where you are not informed at all. And when somebody asks you a question, you just flat out lie. And then when...
I don't know if he lied. I think he just simply told an untruth.
Yes, okay.
He may not be aware that it's an untruth. You know what I mean?
He most definitely was after the end of my email correspondence.
I bet he was,
with him,
yeah.
When I kept sending him back case law, saying, look at this, look at this, look at this.
Jared's pissing off all the authorities.
You are a state citizen, regardless of what you think.
Yeah.
And his only benefit he could list for being a resident of your state, by the way, was in-state tuition. And other such stuff.
And other such stuff. And then couldn't elaborate.
Yeah, what's the other such stuff?
Like protection under the state constitution, maybe? I don't know. This is a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, even trying to figure out how to define residency is strange because
I'd still
residency is, you look at other things and it all boiled down to that it's a legislative issue. So, but the legislative archives couldn't answer what residency meant for me either. So, yeah, good old state.
I'm confused.
Yeah, all right, that's fine.
I'm not confused.
You don't need to be confused.
It makes
be confused.
Perfect
be confused.
sense.
Yeah. Well, since we touched on it, and I don't know where I was going with this. I lost my train of thought after our little hiccup. But
okay.
We can go ahead and we can start talking about how your experience, if you want to.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about your experience. Let's talk about being a hoomie.
A hoomie? There's too much history involved. How do you?
I would like to know how you survived without drinking the Kool-Aid.
How I survived without drinking the Kool-Aid. I did drink the Kool-Aid.
Everybody drank the Kool-Aid.
I did drink the Kool-Aid, man.
Well, that's fine. You're here. You're alive. You're my buddy. You're somehow my godfather.
Yeah. I guess we have to somehow, maybe godless father. I don't know. You gotta understand that there are lots of different variations of cult, and there are cults that are obviously cults. Mm-hmm. And then there are cults that are much more subtle. There are more malignant versions of cults, and there are, I don't know if there are benign cults, but there are certainly cults that are less damaging and can probably produce some good. Actually, Caroline just was telling me the other day that she was talking with a friend of hers who's a recovering alcoholic in England. And this woman, flat out said, AA is a cult.
Yeah, yeah. I totally believe that AA is a cult.
Yeah.
Totally believe that.
Wow. That's it. And then I started to think about it because I know lots of AA members. And I started to think about it. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. However, the people that get their lives turned around through AA and get back on their feet and become, sane again and actually deal with their problems. You can't say that AA is purely a malignant cult in the same way that you could say that Jim Jones was a malignant cult. Do you see what I'm saying? So when I say cult, I don't mean Jim Jonesian sort of cult.
Yeah.
I think originally back in the 60s when Father Paul Blyton started the Holy Order of Mans, Jared referred to me as a hoomie. Hoom. Hoom is Holy Order of Mans. And it was a New Age cult with kind of a Christian... I don't know. I can't say it's a Christian foundation necessarily. Not in the typical Protestant American.
They have a Wikipedia page, by the way. You can wiki that.
There you go. But the Wikipedia page, I don't know. As growing up in now, okay. So
I should call you a homie.
I'm not a homie. Here's the deal. I converted to with my parents. I didn't choose this.
And by the way,
I converted to
you are a cult.
Yeah, whom was a cult?
Yeah, a religious order grounded in what it viewed as the esoteric teachings of the great Christ through the Master Jesus, which identifies it as New Age. It's been identified as a cult by mainstream Christian organizations.
Right, but here's where it gets fuzzy. A certain portion,
hold on.
a large portion...
I want to just point out one thing here. Esoteric Christianity is fucked up. That's it. No more.
That's all you got? Okay.
I'm sorry. There's Jesus and there's Christ, and they're not the same.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave you with that little bit.
Actually,
for our Christian listeners.
That would...
You go ahead and just decide.
If you play with that, you can actually make that true from an Orthodox or from a Christian point of view. Because Christ is not... It's a title. It's an anointed one. Mm-hmm. Yahshua, right? Yes. Jesus was a Christ.
Yes, but they're not the same people. So I'll leave this.
They're not the same people?
Yeah.
So they're clearly esoteric Christianity is clearly taking.
There's Christ the man, and then or Jesus the man, and then there's the Christ figure.
Oh, that's retarded. Okay. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. See, we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But you are a cult, and I do want to look up the definition of cult. Just look this up.
Okay.
Do you want to just? I don't want to do Wiki's cult version. I just want cult definition.
Okay. Yeah.
So definition of a cult: a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. Wow. So religion.
Bingo. That's where it gets confusing for a lot of people.
Another one is.
Yes.
Beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister.
Right.
Sect, denomination, group, movement, church, body, faction,
religion.
Religion.
Yeah. The only difference between a cult and a religion is there's a couple of jokes. My favorite, I like both of them. One of them is the leader's still alive in a cult. And in a religion, the leader's dead.
The leader or the god?
Or the founder. The founder.
Okay.
And the other one is, how does it go? Oh, damn it. No, I can't remember the other joke. It was something about how the leaders know it's bullshit or something like that. Mm-hmm. A cult, I'm a huge fan of religious studies. I'm
a huge fan of the occult.
My geekery tends to lead into history and the evolution of religion. I'm absolutely fascinated with it. I'm fascinated with theology, and
you would have been a good priest. just throwing it out there.
I've been told that more than once.
Oh, I know.
And by priests. Mm-hmm. And
bishops probably.
Really difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult to be an atheist priest. There's a lot of them out there actually, but they don't. All right,
I keep sidetracking your little bit here on cult.
All I'm trying to say is, in religious studies, a cult is actually a specific term.
It has meaning.
Right. And when we use it in 21st century United States specifically, we're referring to it in the pejorative, not in the religious studies perspective, from the religious studies perspective. But what's interesting is a large portion of these cult members from Holy Order of Mans, which a lot of people don't realize.
What did Mans mean?
Manifest, illuminate. You know what? There's been multiple definitions, and
have there?
If I multiple explanations. If I say it, I'm sure somebody will correct me. I was not a member of Holy Order of Mans. I was born into it.
Okay. Well, then I won't even worry about that then.
But a large portion, or a portion, I don't know the statistics, a portion of Holy Order of Mans brother houses and Christian communities, because they had both kind of semi-monastic and lay communities. They were super centered on service and serving their community.
Mysterian, Agape, New, Sophia.
There you go. That's one definition. the group that I was a part of entered into a fringe version, a non-canonical version. Go ahead and look that up if you want.
There. Yeah.
Full of Eastern Orthodoxy under a defrocked priest monk by the name of Father Herman Podmazhensky, Gleb Podmazhensky, and then proceeded to spend the next, I don't know, what was it, about 15 years or so? Just depends on where you put the timeline at. About 15 years developing as Orthodox Christians, as Orthodox communities, under the auspices of Father Herman Podmazhensky, St. Herman of Alaska Brotherhood, and more broadly in the kind of Rokor tradition, Russian Church outside of Russia, synod. It's often called a synod. What's interesting is, and then in 2000, around about 2000, there's multiple different dates. A lot of scandals came out about the bishop. There was a rogue bishop that we were under, named Pangradios Veronis. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I met him multiple times. They found out that he was actually a convicted sex offender. I think he was a pedophile, actually. I could be wrong about that. He was definitely a sex offender.
And the large diocese of Vasilopoulos. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I don't...
Vasilopoulos means Queens.
Yeah,
he was based in Queens.
Yes, Queens, New York. Yes. Yeah.
He was defrocked by the Greek Church and then kind of just went off on his own. And then Father Herman found him and said, ooh, yay, here's a rogue bishop. This would be perfect for these guys. So this big scandal came out, and then another scandal broke that was much worse, I think, for a lot of people, but also quieted up quite a bit, and that was this sexual predator scandal that came out about Father Herman Podmazhensky. He had been having illicit sexual relationships with young men, not children. From all accounts, young men, and most of them, it sounds like most were over. This was consensual in the sense that it was not statutory rape. In a power structure,
not consensual in the fact that you had authority figures.
There's this power dynamics of sexual predation that play into it. I mean, that's why people still consider Clinton's affair with Monica to be a power dynamic. Yes, it was consensual. Yes, it's infidelity. But what I think a lot of us are concerned about with that instance, I'm not now, but
boss, secretary.
Right, exactly. Those are the things. Do
you keep your job?
Right. Yeah. And maybe it can be implicit. It doesn't have to be explicit.
Yeah.
You know. So that happened, and en masse, all these people that were Christ the Savior Brotherhood, which was the name of the Orthodox faction that left Holy Order of Mans and became quote-unquote Orthodox, they called themselves Christ the Savior Brotherhood. They became a charitable organization, lots of property holdings across the United States. We're not talking about a cult like a localized cult. This is a cult that had brother houses international. Yes,
this is international.
My wife is from the same group. She was born into that as well, and she spent the first part of her life in England. So that's where she grew up. She's half English, and so is that an helicopter?
It is.
So
sorry.
This whole group of people, their canonical, non-canonical status fell apart. Their gurus, their bishop and their guru, Father Herman, their guru, was in disgrace, and they all went to various corners of canonical Orthodoxy in the United States, which is kind of an oxymoron because Orthodoxy, if you know anything about the church structure in the United States, the Orthodox church structure in the United States, there isn't. It's nationality based. And even the OCA, even though they're not supposed to be, they're the Orthodox Church of America. Yeah, but if you look at their past, they were the Metropolia. They were specifically Russian.
Yeah.
They were specifically Russian, and they're very Slavic. They just are. So you have all these different national identities of Orthodoxy. Some of them are much more prominent. Some of them are much more American, I guess you could say, much more modern, maybe. I don't know.
What's interesting here with Orthodoxy in America is that you have to look at the fact that it's not like the Roman Catholic Church where everything's the same.
Right.
Orthodoxy doesn't have one head leader.
No.
We don't have a pope. We may have an ecumenical patriarch, but he's just kind of he's like the president. He's a figurehead, and you don't really have to do what he says.
Kind of. I mean, it doesn't work like that. It's
much more complicated than looking at the fact that you got a leader that you have to, fall in line with.
If you're curious,
and you have to
if you're curious
do the
about
same
that,
thing.
I think
every nationality has different small T traditions.
Right.
And that changes everything.
The Orthodox Church by Callistos Ware.
Here.
The Orthodox Church by Callistos Ware.
Perfect.
That's a great. If you're curious, it's a very short read.
Email me jfrederickcall@gmail. I can send it to
or
you.
tweet him.
Or tweet it at j_.
Don't email me or tweet me because I won't respond to you.
j_Frederick_Hall on the Twitter. and I can.
Or contact porchtalk. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to connect you. It's a fascinating. Orthodoxy is a fascinating element of Christianity that's oft misunderstood or simply unknown in the United States.
But anyways.
So this group that I was a part of, that I grew up in, the CSB, Christ the Savior Brother, which came out of the Holy Order of Man, all became Eastern Orthodox. Some went to the Orthodox Church of America. Some went to the Serbian Patriarchate. And some went to the Bulgarian Patriarchate. Now, and I'm probably forgetting somebody else if
the Serbs.
A small... I said Serbs.
Oh, no, sorry.
And it's interesting what happened. The hubs, I would call them the hubs, or the centers of activity among the CSB members, the places that were more where the poobahs were, where the kind of the figureheads were.
Yeah.
Those all went under the Bulgarian Archdiocese, for the most part. Most of the monasteries went under the Serbian Archdiocese, under the Serbian Patriarch. I believe it's the Patriarch.
Patriarch,
yes. They don't have autocephaly status, right? This is the OCA is the only one.
Serbs do.
Serbs do?
Yeah.
Do some of the Serbs or all the Serbs? Because there's two factions. You know what?
Yeah.
Go Wikipedia that. I don't know. I think you're right, though.
Yeah.
Some Serbs do, and maybe some don't. But anyways, so...
well, some Bulgarians do, some Bulgarians don't.
Well, the Bulgarians that
there's OCA Bulgarians.
There are OCA Bulgarians, and that's a whole. There's lots of politics involved that doesn't have anything to do with Christianity.
Yeah.
As a
So
moral,
let me stop
philosophical
here.
faith.
You're giving us all this history. Great history. That I know the history.
I can try to encapsulate it.
But how talk about the culty part then. Let's not talk about the history of how you became canonical. Let's talk about the culty.
The best way
of those.
The best way to, I haven't thought about encapsulating it really in a
how are you
in
culty?
A succinct definition.
How are you culty?
There was a very strong emphasis on not of this world. The concept of being not of this world, and what it translates, which is in the New Testament, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What that got translated into in practice was against the world. And I don't mean the world, the flesh, and the devil. I'm not talking about some sort of theological concept or a spiritual warfare concept. I'm actually talking about us. It's an us versus them attitude, where everyone you meet that isn't a part of the group, that includes other Orthodox Christians, is inferior at best and damned at worst. And all of them are, but the most important part, it doesn't go there, because you go to like fundamentalists and you think fundamentalists. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more complex than that, because, and this is, again, adds this power to the cult, to the members of the cult. It's a bat. There was a bat that just was squeaking. That was why I said that. The power that comes from looking at other human beings and believing that you have something precious, you have the light, you have the special gift, you have the special thing that was chosen. Even inside of Orthodoxy, you got the special Golden Chain of Sanctity award, just by being just there. It's not, you didn't do anything for it, but you have this special thing that you could give to them if they're receptive. And I think that is what the us versus them and the we're special, like extra special, even extra special outside of Orthodoxy. And that's how you can have a cult within Orthodoxy, which is not technically Orthodox. It's non-canonical, but it functions like Orthodoxy. Non-canonical, just look it up. And then I was part of a school at St. Innocent's Academy that was a cult within the cult. They were like the super duper blessed, the ones that were really, really doing it right. And, you know, because all these other people in the CSB, you know, they had jobs, they lived in the world, they you know, didn't live in these closed communities. They went to the CSB churches that were very cultish, very sort of hierarchical, and I think the negative aspects of hierarchy, the aspects of control, were very present. The abuse of the sacrament of confession as a way to,
well, let's talk
maybe
about the
not
school.
intentionally.
Let's talk about the school.
But maybe not. Hold on, let me finish this thought.
The uber culty.
So they were uber culty, run by a man named Father Paisius de Lucia. His legal name is Robert de Lucia. So I went to that.
Sam brought that motherfucker down, by the way.
Well, no, I didn't.
Sort of.
Where's that lighter?
You were a huge part of that, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
I'm foreshadowing that.
Are you foreshadowing? You're a harbinger.
Sorry, I'm just trying to keep track of time here.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at it too. So I went to this school, which they were doing it all the right things. They were a tight community. They all lived together. There was a school, but there was a whole community that developed over the years, mostly after I left, that became a full-fledged cult. What's interesting about this cult is it is very well tied to the city of Kodiak. De Lucia is very connected with the power structure in the city of Kodiak. And he's still, even though he's been defrocked for ecclesiastical abuses, not for being a dick, not for actual just straight up abuse, but he was defrocked specifically because of his violations of ecclesiastical rules, because, well, that's another story.
That you can find at a link we will provide.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I run a website and I run a blog, so you could verify all of this stuff and look it all up and
we'll provide
find the links. The prime thing about that cult, God, I don't know. It's this overwhelming confidence that you are following the truth in a person specifically. Oh, I need some volume.
Sorry, we're outside. I'm just a little worried about the volume.
The leader becomes God. Even if you would never ever think that, you would never say that, they certainly would never ever say that. That's how you proceed. And that God under the Holy Order of Mans was Father Paul Blyton. And then that God became Father Herman Podmazhensky. And for me and for many others, that God became Father Paisius de Lucia. And he's definitely a psychological and physically abusive person, per the statements of multiple former members of St. Innocent's Academy that are on our website. Don't take my word for it. A lot of people don't realize, and this is I'm writing a blog that's just telling my religious story at Kazan Little. It's on WordPress, but we'll link to it. Yeah. I'm just getting into telling the narrative of my time at St. Innocent's, and what a lot of people maybe won't realize, because I'm so adamantly against St. Innocent's Academy, I'm so adamantly against the CSB's damage that they've inflicted, their cult mindset has inflicted on human beings. They may not realize that I was actually kind of a golden boy at St. Innocent's. I did not have a bad time. I was definitely brainwashed by a lot of their religious teaching and perspective that I had to cleanse myself of for almost 10 years. It took me a lot of just strange doctrines, strange spiritual concepts, and tons and tons of guilt. And
well, this is why, like, even in like canonical Orthodoxy, if people find out that you're from a CSB church,
yeah,
there's a lot of skepticism that comes with that, with whether or not you are truly Orthodox,
or from Hermanite. I wholly believe I wholly believe that the reason why Archimandrite Gerasim didn't get elected to be the bishop of the South was because of his history with Father Herman.
Oh yeah, totally.
And he's a friend of mine, by the way. And I'm very happy for him that he did not become a bishop. That's a curse.
whole other story.
End of story. I know one. Hold on. Let me think about it.
Hold on. Just remember that the road to hell is paved with the souls of bishops.
Or priests, depends on how you translate it.
Yeah. Bishops is better.
Bishops is way better. I've known a lot of bishops.
The road to purgatory is paved with the...
I know two bishops I really like as human beings.
Gershom and...
No, he's not a bishop.
Oh, not Gershom, but Alexander?
Yeah, Bishop Alexander Golitsyn is a man of high intellectual
who is
power.
Now the bishop of the Diocese of the South.
He is, yes. He's a phenomenal writer.
Great scholar. And
I actually really like him as a human being.
Yeah, I'll go have a smoke with you. It's great.
Incredibly unpretentious. It's fantastic. But a deeply religious man. I mean, he's not.
And other bishop. Who's the other bishop?
Father David of Alaska.
Oh
OCA.
Yeah.
Father David, Bishop David. Which Abba, his father, is bishop, the overseer. But too, and I've met a lot of bishops.
Yeah,
I've come in contact with a lot of bishops.
Two.
I've come in contact with a lot of bishops.
One didn't last very long.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of bishops I don't mind. I'm not saying that I dislike them, but I've certainly come in contact with a lot of bishops that are less than honorable human beings.
Well,
is a nice way of putting it.
To draw us back, I just found a parallel here with how we started out.
Yeah.
You started talking about cults. And I have no problem calling government a cult. At least a religion. But definitely a cult. You look, I mean,
That's what de Tocqueville said, though. I mean, he didn't phrase it like you said,
but
but
it definitely has cult
it's
mentality.
a nation with the soul of a church, right?
Yeah, it definitely.
With your holy books, you have your.
We have rituals, which would be like voting.
Mm-hmm.
We have.
You certainly have your brainwashing.
You have brainwashing. You have gods, which would be your president.
Saints,
look at
martyrs.
Yeah, look at pictures or video of like presidential rallies, for example, and you see some scary scenes of people holding their signs.
They're in tears,
and crying.
You know,
like, wow.
You know, that's actually what bothers Caroline about Bernie Sanders. Like Caroline's, well, first of all, she doesn't trust any politician. So there's
Nor
that.
should you.
So there's that. But she says it really bugs me because they've deified him. And if you look at, it's just, oh my God, Bernie Sanders this, Bernie Sanders that, and it's on Facebook. He's gonna save us. He's our savior. And it just, I think because of our negative experience with quote unquote saviors,
Yeah.
we're hypersensitive to that and immediately run the other way.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, I will not go to confession. I deconverted completely. I'm an atheist, but even as an Orthodox Christian, my last experiences with a father confessor were very, very good because he was very
you have a great confessor.
Yes, he was very, very adamant about, and he really treated me with respect, especially given my history. He would specifically say, "I'm standing here as your friend and witness. You're confessing to Christ," and then we would talk, and he.
By the way, Orthodox confession's a lot different than Catholic confession.
Very different.
So.
Now, Roman Catholic. Roman Catholic, we're going to call it that. Roman Catholic spiritual traditions and theological concepts have infiltrated much of Orthodoxy, especially, and I'm going to say this for all the Russophiles out there, especially Russia. Look at your history books, people. Look at your history books. Holy crap. Russia, oh my God. So Latin. Okay, I'm done. Anyways, I went to confession to him, and that was very good for many years. Well, not many years, but several years. And he definitely put me on the road to recovery from the weirdness of Eastern Orthodoxy that I had encountered in the cult perspectives. But I would never, ever, even then I had made the decision I would never, ever place my faith in a person.
Well, we're not supposed to.
But if you look at so much of Christianity, it's all about the pastor. It's all about the guru. And this ain't no different than any other religion. They got gurus, they got leaders, and they look at any Protestant church. It's the pastor makes or breaks it, because it's a cult of personality.
Yeah,
right?
well, you look at what was it? Up in Seattle, what was he called?
I don't know.
I want to say Cormdale, but that's 29 churches.
Oh yeah, that asshole.
Yeah,
that's sexist. He's a sexist prick.
He's a misogynist.
Yeah.
He's worse than that. Like he belittles everybody. and
what was his name? Let's get sued. Come on, what was his name?
Yes.
Anyways, whatever. It's Acts 29. If you know who he is. Anyways, I read some of the stuff that somebody was reading it to me, and I went, man,
it's probably me.
I think it was you, because you played me Jesus Camp that one time too, and I saw that. And
that wasn't Acts 29, but it was very much like the same thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
But
that sort of brainwashing and that cult of personality.
Mark Driscoll.
Yeah.
So scandal comes out with Mark Driscoll, and now all the Acts 29 churches have been like the whole thing is dissipated. It's gone.
Right.
They've all gone out.
Right.
Like, so your pastor, your mega pastor,
right,
like is gone, and you don't last much longer. No, when you're a leader,
unless you have the infrastructure like Eastern Orthodoxy or Roman Catholicism.
So if you lack,
and they have the history. The Episcopal Church has that too. Lutherans do.
Look at that then. Going with cults.
Yeah.
If you take away your leader, if your leader goes, if he dies,
Yeah.
or something. Something happened. In this case, it was he was forced to resign.
Right.
Because
right,
of some
scandals.
extremely inappropriate things he had said. But if your leader goes and you don't last, you're probably a cult. I would say that.
What if you do last?
Well, then you might have some standing.
I mean, because the argument could be made for sure that Christianity started as a small Hebrew cult.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
But so
historically speaking.
So is longevity part of it?
That's what separates a cult from religion.
All right.
Time. Right? Isn't
Yeah.
that the joke?
Yeah. So
and
longevity,
again, I want to repeat, when we use the word cult, it's very pejorative and negative in our colloquial conversations.
Yeah.
But all religious groupings are cults. That's
everything
what
is
it
a cult.
is.
Everything.
Yes.
A group of people that hang out together every day or every week or something could, in theory, be called a cult.
They could become
We call them
one.
cliques. We call them cliques. But it could
Doesn't
be a
it have
cult.
to have shared beliefs though?
Usually, I would think that in order for you to have a clique, you got a shared belief. Whether that is on Wednesdays we wear pink, or
okay,
or-
I don't know.
or-
I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but I don't have the mental space.
Again,
to...
not using cult in the pejorative. Just saying in general, if you want to break it down.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I
To
see
what
what you're
cult is. So when people think of cults, they think of I think of Mormons, or you think of
Seems legit.
yeah, Johnstown, or you think of Waco, or it's the same thing. Or you think of
Jonestown and Waco.
Johnstown, and you think of Waco, and you think of the fucking place up in Wyoming or Montana.
Oh, the Moonies. That's another one.
Yeah, you think of these things.
There's a lot of them.
And that's what we think of as cults.
Scientology. That's a good.
Yeah,
one.
they're Scientology.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't think they're a cult. I think they're just a pyramid scheme.
Yes, I'll go that.
I don't think they're a cult at all. I don't think they're.
Because if you don't have money, you don't go far.
Bingo! Boom
Yeah.
shakalaka. I mean, that's it. Ding it. Yeah,
right.
that's just what I think.
Well, to tie it up, I do want to say that
Yeah.
I do believe that government is, if not a religion, if not just a cult, a religion.
yeah.
And I definitely would say even Bernie Sanders, you said, and Trumpers, the cult mentality.
That's an interesting point. I want to tie something in.
We need to tie it up.
Okay, I've been, engaged in the secular community now, recovering from religion, the atheist community at large. What I notice, they tend to all be very, very liberal. Not all of them. Penn of Penn and Teller, or Teller of Penn and Teller. I don't know which one is which.
Well, Penn's a libertarian.
Yeah, he's a libertarian, so not quite the same. But by and large, most of my atheist friends, secular friends, are very sort of pro-government, they're very.
They've replaced one god with another.
I wonder. We haven't even touched on how science is a religion. Science is not a religion, by the way. It's a fantastic, the best yet, way to understand our reality. But when you say I believe in science,
a religion. It's become a religion.
Yeah, and don't fucking treat it like a religion. You just made a cult out of it. Stop.
Not only that,
Stop with it.
You also created a way to discredit it.
I hadn't thought
By
about
making
that.
something a religion,
Right.
you've discredited it.
Yes.
All right.
And so on that note,
We'll sign off.
we'd like to sign off. We'd love to thank Agenda 31, Jennifer Briney at Congressional Dish, and No Agenda, the media assassination, for inspiration and thought provocation.
I want to throw another one in.
Oh, okay.
I want to give a small shout out.
Just a small
Small
not
shout
a
out
big one.
to Higher Side Chats.
Oh, that's entertaining shit, huh?
Very entertaining.
I haven't listened yet, but Jared has filled me in. These guys are great.
It's very conspiratorial.
No,
Shit.
they're into
is
conspiracy
just-
theories, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some stuff is way out there, and is literally like a script from X-Files. if not the entire X-Files. And some stuff actually is good and thought-provoking.
Right.
For me, it's been hit or miss.
Uh-huh.
But I like them.
Okay.
And it's entertaining to listen to at work. So they have my shout-out as
All right.
well.
Cool.
So, and with that, this is Jared Hall. And
Samuel Dank
signing off.
from Nebraska.
1866.